All right, Royal Rumble time. That's right. Yes, indeedy. Feed the needy. So, I'm like here with the women's side of the Rumble. Now, unlike the men's, I think this one is a lot more up in the air of there's no clear bunch of people that's like I really think that you can make a viable case of actually winning. While I do think there's actually like there's women to pick from, but I was like they don't have the same link. Like I did a couple with the men's, but at the same time I was like it was only about 4 or 5 that have like a reasonable, and then I just like picked out like a couple that I was like, oh, I can see this one, I like this one, and things like that. Whereas the women's, it was really, really thin of who to pick to where it's like I think it's kind of obvious of not even unlike the men's I was like you don't necessarily know which, like there's several ones that you could pick to win, whereas like the women's I was like it really kind of really makes sense for me to think of like one that can really win, while the rest of them I was like, oh, there could be cases, but there's also not full on cases to have them win, instead of I was like just them being at the last bunching. So anyway, let's just start out of Jordynne Grace. I was like, if she's in, I was like she should be in the Rumble. She's done with TNA. I was like going to WWE. I was like if she is in the Rumble, I was like her winning would not be something too crazy. I was like talk about how I sort of talked about Penta. I was like, put a rocket to your new star and then shoot him to the moon, and that's basically what you would do with Jordynne Grace. I was like, I was like, the women don't have a story saga thing going on the same way that the men do, where all of that is some form of something with the bloodline, Cody, that whole thing. The women don't have that. You got Tiffany Stratton as the champion. You got Rhea Ripley as the champion. There's nothing going on right now. So to me, it would be the easiest to put her right in the middle. She's already been in the Rumble last year, so everybody already sort of know who she is. Like she's been in NXT, so a good amount of people know from that chunk of everything. I was like, and from her being in the Rumble, and maybe a little bit from NXT, that people might have decided to check out TNA just because of her, or just check her out in general, that she will have enough people to know who she is that it won't come as a like, oh, like I'm astounded. It would just be like, oh, okay, cool. And just I was like, you could just come off the bat, make a story. There's nothing else going on to where you gotta throw her into something or whatever. How do we fix her? You ain't gotta worry about any of that. And that's why I think the women's is like, you can sort of do anything, at least with them, that you sort of could pick anybody, even though there's not that many people to pick up. So I was like, I feel like Jordynne Grace could be that, and because I'm just thinking, I'm like, her versus Ripley, I think that would be the matchup. Just because I was like, with someone with Tiffany, as like we'll talk about with the other ones, you probably gonna go more veteran style, so that you can establish her right away of being like, okay, you won, you beat a vet, there you go. Where like Ripley, I was like, she's had the championship, she just got it back. I was like, she's pretty much gonna have it until WrestleMania. I was like, she's already been here, she's already done established herself. That her going to get Jordynne Grace, that could be a matchup where Jordynne Grace will just win the championship on the biggest stage. She's already a big star. Boom, after all that. Which goes to my next one that I think could work in a similar type of way is Roxanne Perez. I was like, coming out of NXT, she's been there for a long time. She's been holding the women's championship for a long time as a good gal, as a bad gal, or whatnot. So she's sort of done all. She's sort of made her a couple of placements here, there, and I was like being at like Bailey's face and stuff like that, in a way where it's like, okay, we're already trying to get used to her on the main roster. She will be getting called up really at any point, anytime already, because she's just been, like I said, she's been there for so long. But in the same way with Jordynne Grace, I was like, you're gonna know her from NXT or whatever like that. But I'm saying that she's someone new. I was like, in a way, that's like, you could just throw her into anything right now because there's nothing going on. She easily would just be a matchup opponent for mainly Rhea Ripley. Like I said, I was like, Rhea's the vet in that situation, so you come out with the young person. Plus, I would like I've sort of been waiting for them to sort of do a Paige scenario in with the women's division. And by that I mean Paige got called up. She faced AJ Lee for the Divas Championship and won it. I was like, they haven't done anything like that really on either genders or whatever. But I'm just saying with the women, I was like, because there's nothing going on, I was like, why not do it? And you're able to do it on one of the bigger stages. I was like, you'll have months of time in order to get the people used to her, shows her NXT type of stuff, and all that other stuff to get the ball rolling or whatever. I was like, she's not somebody that's going, like, she's going to get up in your face about stuff in a way that I was like, she's not going to run away from Rhea Ripley is what I'm trying to say. So I was like, you could easily just throw her in as well. And I was like, have her have a good showing. Maybe put her in a little bit. I was like, it's strategic why, because I was like, you can put her in sort of at the end to where she is, sort of with the, the last like grouping of people, to where it's like, oh, what she miraculously. I was like, was able to throw the 5 over, but she was like 7th away from 30, well 23. So therefore, she was able. It was a little bit easier. Or you could give her an earlier spot in the Rumble to sort of showcase her that like kind of like as you're over here seeing her work, her using her tactics in order to survive. I was like, now the fans are able to see her when she's like number 12, and you get to see her with the next bunch of people that she builds up to where it's like when she does win, you're just like, she's been killing the Rumbles. It makes sense. I'm just saying, I was like, I would like if they just did like, I don't know where kind of thing or whatever like that. I don't know. I was like, and I've seen people talking about AJ Lee. I'm not even going to, I was like, that's just my mention of it here. I was like, Alexa Bliss, I'll do the same thing just because. I was like, but not count on any of them right there. Now, when I was talking about Tiffany Stratton, her facing the veteran, I was like, we're gonna see Charlotte. She's gonna be in the Rumble. I was like, we expect Becky to be in the Rumble too, making her return back. And to me, I was like, if either one of these two won, they basically will face Tiffany Stratton, because that's sort of how we're gonna go. You gotta have to have you're gonna have to climb. It's like oh, you at the top of the mountain, except for where the Mount Rushmore is here. So you're gonna have to face this kind of thing. And I wouldn't like either one of them winning. To be honest, I was like, Becky won the Rumble and she has won the Elimination Chamber last year. So I was like, I sort of see Becky as being in the last couple, but not actually winning. Charlotte, that's the one that's sort of more difficult, but I could totally see her winning the Chamber than her winning the Rumble, just because she's already run the Rumble. I was like, to me, I feel like they would try to give it, that way you can supplant whoever wins the Rumble as a guaranteed spot. And to me, I was like, I think that would be best saved for other people, where it's like Charlotte and Becky can just get themselves into a match, whether that's Elimination Chamber or in general, that they don't need it. And I was like, now I'm thinking about it, I was like, I don't know if Charlotte has been in the Elimination Chamber either. So I was like, that might be an added benefit of putting her in the Elimination Chamber. But yeah, I was like, I don't think either one of them is going to win, but I do think that they'll be the ones to actually face Tiffany Stratton, because that way, if they lose, it's not hurtful or whatever, and you can sort of have her have a proven win at the same time. Now, these last, I was like, the one I was like, spoiler of who I want to think win later on, but I was like, the two I want to talk about that I was like, before, I would have also said they have a really good chance of winning. But now I was just like, they're just going to be in the last few. And one of them is, I was like, I think of a good case would be Liv Morgan. Now, before, I want to say her just losing the championship at Raw's Netflix, about like, because they hadn't even been like basically like 3 weeks, or maybe it's been exactly like 3 weeks. And the reason for that is that every single Rumble she's been in, she's been this close. I think last year I was like, and even the battle royale that they had to figure out who gets the championship that Becky won, she was also this close. She's either been like the runner-up, or she's been in like the last like 3 or 4, to where it seems like they've sort of been telling a story the last few years with Liv that she's so close. She's almost there. She's almost gonna win it. And to be honest, I think that they probably would have pulled the trigger. I mean, things can always change, but I think they feel like they might have pulled the trigger on her maybe winning the Rumble if she already didn't have her year-long championship reign, pretty much. And I think that sort of gets her off the list of winning. And also, who is she also really going to face at this point? You're going to have her challenge again for Rhea Ripley? No, I was like, they're going to be done with that. While in my head, I was like, she beat Rhea. Didn't she beat Rhea like twice or something like that? But either way, I was like, they're not going to revisit that. That's dead. They're not going back to it. To where I was like, she's not. I think she'll be in the last 5 and be close again. But I was like, she's not going to win it just because she didn't already had her chance. They're not going to revisit that. I wouldn't necessarily mind it, but I just think that by now it's the way that it lasted with the injuries and stuff actually hurt it to where, like, if they would have been able to do things how they planned to do it, I felt like Liv and Rhea probably would have changed the championship a couple of times already to where you could have to blow off at WrestleMania. But because it just kept plotting, that it's like, once we got the title exchange, we're like, all right, we're done. Which brings me to the other person who I think would have also had a say in the same way as Liv, and that's Nia Jax, except for she just got beat by Rhea at Saturday Night Main Event. Now, granted, when I was talking about the 2 veterans that Tiffany had to beat, this could be how Nia technically gets her rematch. Nobody's really doing rematch clauses and nothing like that anymore. So, the way that you sort of get her to face Tiffany, the person she basically cashed in and got the title from, is her to win the Rumble. And guess what? That would be probably the easiest way and the best way to do it without it seeming like that it's I don't want to say contrived, but I was like, that it doesn't seem like a rematch. Like, you didn't want to just see it on like a Friday night and her just have like, or the night before the Rumble, she gets a match against Tiffany Stratton or something like that. That's not how I was like, that way it doesn't seem like it's just that and just doing it for it because. But I was like, I don't know. I guess to me, I was like, while it would be obvious she's going for Tiffany, I was like, it's just something that how she just sort of just got beat by Rhea again, and it was that Saturday Night Main Event, and the way that it sort of went, that I was like, I don't know if they will pull it, but at the same time, how else to reward Nia with basically putting the championship on her back for the whole year? She's been doing 2 years of good work since she done came back, and basically had been the only other person outside of Rhea that has been dominant. And she wasn't on WrestleMania last year, basically, because once she lost Elimination Chamber, who cared about her? That this will give her WrestleMania spot guaranteed. You ain't got to worry about it, and it's sort of like a reward for working so hard. With that being said, I can also see her. I was like, while that would be a guarantee, I can also see them throwing her in the Elimination Chamber as well, just because I feel like that would just be a good Elimination Chamber if she's in it, and whoever she has to face. But even though that would also get her a spot at WrestleMania, I can totally see them go that way. And I was like, I can see her being dominant during the whole Rumble, and then just be so close to just like getting it, but her being the big girl and the destructive force and stuff like that, she's also going to be in the big spot of everybody got to jump her and take her out kind of thing. So that's why I was like, I don't know if she'll get it. And to the person I think that will actually have the best chance to win it, like I said, there's no story necessarily here, even though they have teased it at times as well, is Iyo Sky, especially now. Especially because I was like, all her members are all injured. I think Dakota Kai got a concussion, so we got to see how that necessarily goes. But if she's by herself, guess what they're going to do? Solo run with her. They've already sort of teased her with Rhea. And I can see them just basically, like I said, you don't need any story. She makes a story, and she's so over as a fan favorite that you have her win, automatic eruption. Almost it's gonna be. I was like, and not to. I was like, it's her fellow damage control teammate, and not to make the comparison just because I was like they're both Japanese stuff, but it'd be just like Asuka, where everybody also like loved Asuka so much that when she won, it was like, yeah, this is what we're getting. Same thing with Iyo. Iyo basically wrestles so good and is so liked in the ring, not just with her wrestling, but how her mannerisms, all that other stuff, that she made herself our face. She was a heel, but she was being presented as a heel. We just made her a face because we like Iyo so much. She jumps off the damn cage in a trash can. She's gonna be. So I was like, I think that she has the best case to win. She could go for either one, but the big money matchup, it will be her and Rhea. Also, I think that she could beat Rhea and no harm, no foul, because you're also, almost like how, even though it was like the four horsewomen, it was also Asuka in there. And I'll say like Alexa Bliss in there. But it was also Asuka in there. To where it's like, you think of who the big time players is, and I'll like get to the last one in a minute, of where it's Rhea, Bianca. Man, it had a really been, I was like, it really kind of is Iyo. I was like, that's really in that third spot that I felt like wasn't made for that as far as like out after NXT until Trips really got up in there. So I was like, that's the one I would say that I was like, if you want to sort of go with anybody, that's the one to sort of put all your money behind. But the one that could be, I feel like, is a dark horse in a way, is Bianca Belair. The reason I say a dark horse is because she got the whole thing with Naomi in the tag team titles. She got the thing with Jade Cargill right now. I was like, there might be a thing with her, Naomi, Liv, and Raquel with tag team titles, to where I was like, it's not a guarantee that she'd be in this spot. She's already won the Rumble as well too. I was like, she is over, but I won't say she's hot. But the big money matchup is basically the new version of Becky and Flair. It's Bianca and Rhea, who in different ways, but they're the big headline, is that they're the big powerhouse. They're the top women. But like I said, Bianca isn't hot in a way. And I was like, not that Rhea is as hot as she was earlier this year, but she's at a level right now that if you would have got Bianca how she was 2 years ago, I was like, that'd be different. And I was like, they just don't have it right now. And it's not that if Bianca won the Rumble, they don't have enough time to build up who's the best, because that's really what this sort of is that you want to sort of get them both at their height of being hot in the company for this to be a women's matchup that also will main event one of the nights, most likely night one of WrestleMania. And I don't think that's possible this year with all the Bloodline stuff. Next year, when I think the Bloodline stuff has died down, I think that's a bigger ordeal to do. I was like, but right now, I don't think that's feasible. So I was like, Bianca, I feel like it's a dark horse and all that, because I was like, everybody else I think got an actual chance. Even the Roxanne and Jordynne Grace that I said. Where Bianca, I was like, I don't think she does, but I was like, but I would get why they did it, even if the timing's wrong, if you get what I'm saying. Anyway, did I miss anybody or that you could think of that you could throw in there? I think if there wasn't the women's mid-card championships, I might have a couple. Like, I was like if Lyra would have, I was like, if she won the Rumble, that wouldn't have shocked me if she wasn't already the champion, kind of thing. You get what I'm saying? So, but then after that, I don't think there's really too many other women that you could really point to, and the other women that you could is in NXT. So I don't really see that as anything. Anyway, what do y'all think? Let me know. Did I miss anybody? Who are the women that you choose? Who are the ones that you would like to? Is Iyo really just the top pick, pretty much, really? Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Until then, peace. I'm out.